Hi, this is Dr. Toby, your host on Health and Wellness. Thank you for joining us. We have a special show with Dr. Segun and Tosin Lejofi. Tosin is a nurse who trained in San Jose, who trained in California, worked in Georgia, and has been working in Mississippi for the last couple of years. She's happily married to Segun Lejofi, who is a family medicine physician. He went to university in Connecticut and then offshore for medical school, came to University of Mississippi Medical Center for his residency in family medicine, and finished off just recently a one-year interventional pain fellowship. They have two lovely kids, a boy and a girl, and they're making their home in the future in Atlanta. Tosin is pursuing a medical school degree. She's been accepted to medical school and she's about to start. And I wanted to share their story of love, of passion, of desire, of faithfulness, of fidelity, of hope, of promise, of aspiration, of not giving up on their dreams. You will be blessed with their story. God bless you. Hi, this is Dr. Toby, your host on Health and Wellness. Thank you for joining. Don't touch that dial. We have a great show with Dr. and Mrs. Segun and Tosin Lejofi, some of my favorite people in the world. You're welcome on our show, Health and Wellness with Dr. Toby. We started this show in 2017 with the onus to encourage and educate people on traditional medical principles. Based on 3 John 2, where the Bible says, I wish above all things that you be in health. Many people want to be healed, but they don't want to be in health. So I said, as a physician, as a Christian, as a preacher, maybe I can educate my area of interest, the church, on how to stay healthy. The church, unfortunately, has some of the sickest people around. And so many of them are just ignorant about basic principles of health. And we have a nurse, an RN, and an MD, interventional pain medicine fellow, trained, and a family physician with us today. You're welcome on the show. Thank you so much for coming all the way from Jackson, Mississippi. I think you live in Flowood, really.
Okay. It's Flowood, borderline.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Brandon.
But it's more Flowood than Brandon, really.
Oh, really? Okay. So technically you're from the Rankin County, not the Hines County.
Yes.
Your taxes go to the Rankin County. So we're so delighted to have you on the show, and just want to know who we are talking to. So let's start with Tosin, ladies first. So Tosin, you've had a mercurial career as a nurse. You've worked in diverse parts of the country, if I remember correctly, California, Mississippi, and now you're pursuing something else. So tell us a bit about who you are and what your plans are as a young mother, a young wife, a future medical personnel. Tell us a bit about yourself in a nutshell.
Okay. In a nutshell, my name is Tosin. I started off in nursing. I went in actually from health sciences. I went to San Jose State University. And then after that, I went into nursing at Fresno City College. I was in California. I was a nurse for a little bit in California. And then I moved to Georgia. I was in Georgia as well. And then I worked in nursing, went into leadership. And because of my husband, moved to Mississippi.
Awesome.
Worked in Mississippi, did a little bit of leadership. Worked as a director at One Health System. and then did a little bit of traveling during the pandemic, and went back into a supervisory role as a nurse. And all through that time, knowing that I wanted to go back to school to be a physician. And I took the time out after just kind of planning with my husband, because, you know, when you're married, you have to kind of put two people's dreams together, right? So with the planning, it made sense for me to go after my husband was done with his, you know, residency. And I got in, did a post-bac, and I just got into med school, so we'll be starting in the summer.
Awesome. Congratulations. So that's breaking news, because I didn't even know that. Congratulations. That is super awesome. But let's go back to California, San Jose. So did you get a RN? Did you get a BSN? Did you get an LPN? Did you get a... Because there's so many acronyms, letters, abbreviations that people get confused about who is an LPN, who is an RN, who is a BSN, who is a FNP, who is, you know... So what did you get at San Jose, and what did you get after that?
Okay, to be clear, in California we call it LVN, but I wasn't that though.
LVN.
Licensed
Oh,
vocational
really?
nurse, not licensed practical nurse, but that's aside. In California, I got an ADN.
Okay.
So I went to San Jose State as a pre-nursing major, but I did not get into the nursing program. Nursing programs are impacted in, you know, places like California. So what impaction means is you could have all the qualifications, but you might still not get in. So as an impacted program, I was pre-nursing and kept on being pre-nursing until I graduated with a different degree.
In
so
what?
in pretty much my degree is in health science, community health education.
Wow.
So at some point when you're like a junior about to be a senior, you have to kind of like figure out if you want to continue waiting or if you want to graduate. And I chose to graduate. But I was on a waiting list for a few programs. Once I finished my degree at San Jose State University, I got into Fresno City College, which is a community college in Fresno, California, where I got my ADN. And that's an associate's degree in nursing. And after that, I got a master's degree in nursing as well from University of San Francisco.
So that was a master's in nursing.
Yes.
That's not a BSN.
No, that's an MSN.
As an MSN.
Yes,
Wow.
Clinical Nursing Leadership Certificate.
Oh, okay. So some people get masters, but they become nurse practitioners, and that's a
Exactly.
different pathway.
Right.
Exactly.
You took the leadership executive pathway.
Yeah.
Now you talk about Fresno, San Jose. Like I said, they are next door to each other. Are they up north California?
Yeah, so Fresno is in central California.
Okay.
So San Francisco is in the Bay, San Jose is kind of, is in the East Bay, but they're not as close. So for me, when I used to live in San Bruno, which was very close to the San Francisco airport. It was about a 4-hour drive to Fresno, where I went to nursing school.
And where were you? So you lived there, and then you did your career pathway. And you moved to Georgia just to pursue your executive leadership dreams, right?
Kind of, sort of is.
Okay.
So Shegun had finished his basic sciences.
Right.
And he was
Okay.
taking clinical sciences in Georgia. And at that point, I was looking for an inpatient position. One of the issues with being a new nurse in California is that everybody wants to be a nurse in California. So many,
Because they pay better.
yeah, so
Oh.
many experienced nurses will come from different states to come to California to work. So because of that, that left a lot of new grads out of work. So we'll end up taking jobs at some acute rehabs that pay a lot less, and you know it's very difficult to live in California if you're not making California money. So while trying, I think I tried for about a year or so, and then I started to try to get jobs in Fresno or in Georgia. And Shegun told me to try to get in Georgia. I applied one day, and I got responses, and I got a job.
wow.
Yeah, in the hospital system. That's why I moved.
So let's talk about how you both met. So Shegun, now, so she said she was in California and you were rotating. So how did you guys meet? Was it while she was in college, while she was in nursing school, or?
This was way before nursing school,
Okay.
and this was while I was still in Connecticut. Yeah. So I had just graduated from University of Connecticut, and I was doing a job. I was working with a friend, and we just had some downtime. So He was on Facebook. Um, so I saw her picture on his Facebook,
Oh,
and I said, "Hey, like, who is that?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, it's someone I met like a long time ago. We don't really talk, don't know too much about her." So, is it okay if I talk to her? And he said, "Yeah." Like,
so at that time you had finished undergrad
yes,
and was just working,
yes, yes,
keeping your body together, body and
exactly,
life. So
exactly.
keeping it together, thinking of your future.
Yeah, trying to like navigate like life, figuring out what I'm doing next. Is it medical school? Do I want to take some more time off? Yeah. So I talked to her on Facebook, and you know, um, we took it one step at a time, and
Wow.
here we are.
The number of marriages that have been created on Facebook.
Yeah, shout out to
It's,
Facebook.
Zuckerberg is a parent of many marriages. And
That is
homes.
true. That is true.
That is awesome. Obviously, you were communicating over the internet for a few months, maybe,
About 6 months.
and then
Mhm.
finally, when she moved to Georgia, was that, or you had
Oh,
talked,
we,
you
oh,
had
no,
met
this
before
was
then?
a long time before
Okay.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I think we talked for like 3 months, and then we met in New York.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this is a very good example of pursuing your dreams, because I've known Tosin for 5, maybe 4 years, and she's always talked about going back to medical school,
Yeah.
going back to nursing, going back to become a neurosurgeon or something like that. Something like that. She's going to decide after medical school. But the good news is, don't give up on your dreams.
Yeah.
Hold fast and trust God, and you'll see them come to pass. Many times we throw in the towel and we're just at the cusp of fulfilling our dreams. So Segun has another story that panders to that type of, emotion. So tell us about your dream growing up in Connecticut, and then how you ended up in medicine, rotating in Georgia and ending up in Mississippi.
Okay. So my interest in medicine, started when I was very young. My father is a nurse. He's a surgical nurse. So I've always seen him, be active in the community. And he, at some point when we moved to Lagos, he had a clinic. So I always like shadowed him. I was like literally like his shadow. I would go everywhere with him.
He moved from Ekiti
Right,
to
right.
Lagos.
To Lagos, yes.
Really?
So I was always intrigued by what he did. I always wanted to learn about like the disease process, what medications he was prescribing, and
And that's Nigeria.
that was
Right.
yeah, that
They
was
don't
in
do that
Nigeria.
here.
Right, right. So I know like for someone who is not familiar with the Nigerian system, probably doesn't understand what I'm saying, but yeah, so he was able to do that, in Nigeria, just based on like the need and
Of course.
and other certifications that he had. So that was where like my interest in medicine started from. So when we came here, went to University of Connecticut. After that, I worked for about maybe 2 years. I applied to medical school unsuccessfully. Then I decided to go to the Caribbean. So I went to school in the Caribbean.
What was undergrad in? What field?
So I actually did, what is it called? I was in biosciences initially,
Okay.
and then I had switched to, I just blanked.
So, biomedical intelligence.
It was okay. It was general studies with
Okay.
with a with a sub in public health.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So that was what I finished with, and then I went to the Caribbean. I was there for almost 2 years. Came back, took step 1. And after that, did my clinical rotations in Emory and Wellstar system in Atlanta.
Where did the marriage get in? Was it in your pre-medical school, during medical school?
It was
When did you guys
just
get married?
as I was wrapping up medical school.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
And there's a shout out to all the ladies there. Tosin helped him through medical school. He won't tell you that on the worldwide TV, but I can say it because, a lot of young women don't pitch in, and at times it's always one-sided, but it's not wrong to support your spouse's dream. It's a seed you're sowing. And today she's going back to medical school,
Yeah.
and obviously he's the one going to be supporting her.
Absolutely.
So I think it's the way God made marriage. Submit and support one another is the whole concept of marriage. But I just wanted to throw a shout out to Tosin and Shegun, because that takes a lot of guts to do that. Especially when you didn't get married until after the end of it. I mean, you were supporting a guy you weren't sure was ready to settle.
I have to say though, for Shegun, when you find a spouse that makes you feel comfortable, knowing that, I felt really safe with my husband now, even when we were dating. He's a very intentional person, has always been a very intentional person. So I knew that I was safe to invest, if you will, invest in him, invest in his dreams, because our dreams were very much alike, and I knew that this is someone that would invest in my dreams as well. So when you're picking a spouse, pick a good one, and then you can invest in them.
Right. Definitely. So you moved to Mississippi, you got residency.
Yes.
And so I want both of you to talk about the different demographics. You've lived in California, Tosin. You've lived in Connecticut. You've lived in Georgia, both of you. And then you spent 4 years in Mississippi. So can you compare the different sides of the United States? A lot of my viewers have never left Mississippi or Louisiana, so they may not know what other parts of the country. So you might be an eye to them about those parts.
Okay. Do you want to start?
Sure. Well, for me, I remember Connecticut being really cold.
Okay.
But apart from the weather, it's just the mindset of the people is very different. I feel like in Connecticut it was mostly just very official, very business-like. It's hey, and then we're down to business. We're going about our business. Coming to Georgia and Mississippi, it's more of a family environment. It aligns more with how we were in Nigeria. Yeah, people want to know about your weekend. People want to know about your kids. They want to know, how your dog is doing.
Yeah.
So it's a very welcoming environment. You get to know the people you work with. You get to know your neighbors. The people are just very friendly, and for me, that's the biggest difference between Connecticut and here outside of the weather. Yeah.
For California, it's very similar. It's very fast-paced, and people. I don't know. I love California as a place because that's where I grew up most of my life in the United States. But when I moved to Georgia, it was definitely official there. I felt like my personality was such that I was very straight to the point, cutthroat. And when I was in leadership, I actually had to have a mentor to tell me, people want to know how your day is. You need to calm down, and you need to slow down even with your speech.
Okay.
Like little things like that, and be more invested in people on a personal level, even if we're here to work. Certainly closer to how we grew up in Nigeria, especially Mississippi. It was really welcoming. People that are not from the South have preconceived notions about the South, but when you're in it, you realize that you're welcomed. It's really great, and that's the reason why we're going to settle with the South.
Wow. So your parents were in California, your parents were in Connecticut initially.
Yes.
And now your parents are both in Georgia.
Yeah, they're both in Georgia now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I know you played sports in Connecticut, right?
Well,
I thought you did soccer.
I played
something.
soccer, but I was not really on a team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You weren't
It was more
competitive.
right. It was more like
Okay.
recreational. Yeah.
I'm just curious because sports is a big thing here
Yeah.
in the South. They say church, sports, and what else? Those are the big things in the South. In the North and California, I'm not sure. I guess technology,
Right? Okay.
fashion, maybe, real estate.
Yeah, I mean, up north, on the northeast, it's people follow like their teams, so basketball, football, but not as big as in the South, especially college football. College football in the South is huge. I didn't even know much about college football when I was in the Northeast. We had a football team, but we weren't that good.
So
Um,
let's go back to the origin. You
yeah.
guys moved from Nigeria.
Yes.
So here we are comparing California, not Connecticut, Louisiana, Mississippi. But what are your memories of Nigeria? I don't know how old you were when you left, but I want you to compare that with what you've experienced over the last 20, 30 years in America. You know, because some of my viewers want to know. I mean, they see all these videos of big houses and long cars and extravagant looking models, and they say, oh my God, I want to go to Nigeria. I had a lady call me yesterday, I want to go to Nigeria, when are you going? I said, in July. She said, how much is it? I said, $2,000. I said, how am I going to get that? I said, well, start saving, you know. And
It is definitely expensive.
She saw the
to travel.
videos, she saw the
Yeah.
movies. She wants to spend, she said she wants to spend 3 months in Nigeria. I'm
Ooh.
like, and you don't have 2,000. So, again, give my viewers a bird's eye view of Nigeria that you experienced before you left.
We had different experiences.
Yeah,
Oh,
We lived
that
in
we
the
did.
village.
Yep, that I
Really?
did.
As a
Yep.
village boy, and I lived in Lagos. So let's start with your experience.
I mean, since you brought the village into it,
So,
So-
the capital of Ekiti is Edo Ekiti.
yeah, it's Ado Ekiti.
Did you live
Yes.
in Edo Ekiti?
So I lived in Ado Ekiti. I was actually born there.
So that's not
Yeah.
a village anymore.
Yeah, well, it's not a village anymore.
But
She
it
just-
was. Okay. It's now the state capital, by the
Yeah,
way.
it is the state capital now, but then it was under Ondo State. It wasn't under
Right.
Ekiti State. So that experience is definitely different from the experience in Lagos when we moved to Lagos. But like my experience in both places was Ado Ekiti was definitely childhood, the friends I made back then, just community is how I would put it. Your neighbors 5 doors down or 5 houses down, they're always looking out for you. If your parents are not around, they're responsible for you. You have kids that are your age, age mates or age range, and we just always hung out with each other. So that's my memory of Ado Ekiti. And then we moved to Lagos when I was maybe 7 or thereabout. And Lagos to me was different. It's like moving from a small town in America to New York.
Right.
That was how it felt. And it was fast paced. The people are still very nice. The standard of living was better. We had more access to things.
24-hour television.
Yeah, 24-hour television. Maybe not 24-hour power supply,
Maybe.
but
And I know you guys, typically in the West, there's a lot
Yeah.
of church as well.
Yeah.
yes,
So
yes.
part of Nigerian culture is
Uh-huh.
they spend the whole Sunday in church. Is
Yes,
that it?
yes.
I'm not sure if that was you, but
Yes,
Yeah.
we left the house around 7 o'clock, and sometimes got back home at 5 p.m.
Just
Yeah.
in church.
Right. So you do the first, and if your parents are involved, if they're a pastor or an elder in church,
they
do the
hang
first
out.
do the first service, sometimes second service, and then they have meetings, and you just have to hang out with other kids and find something to do in the meantime.
Read
Yeah.
some Bible verses.
Yes.
So how was Lagos for you?
It's pretty much how Lagos was for him. I grew up in Lagos, and like he said, there's a communal feeling. So you have a bunch of children. Their parents. They're looking out for you when you're going to school and coming back. And a lot of my childhood was just being in a community around people. And then they send you on errands like you're their kids, and it was a normal thing. And then if you do something, they'll say, "Well, tell your parents," or you can tell the neighbor lady, and she could, kind of chastise you just like your mother would. And that's kind of how it was growing up in Nigeria. In Lagos. Yeah.
And when did you move to the U.S.? How old were you?
I was 15.
15. Okay, so you had kind of seen, Lagos mature.
Yeah.
What part of Lagos were you in?
I lived in Ejibo.
Igbo. Okay. Yeah.
Ejigwe Solo local government. Wait, Solo,
Yeah.
yeah, local government. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a big bomb blast there years
Oh
ago.
my God.
But that was in the 2000s, so you were probably in the
I
U.S.
was,
then.
That was
yeah.
like the military, the
The
barrack.
barracks
Yeah,
around
yeah,
there, like
the barracks.
2000.
Yeah.
So if you were to tell
Wow.
an American who wants to go to Lagos, what would you tell them to look out for? Any tourist spots, any highlights of their visit, any things to be wary of?
You need to know somebody.
Okay, don't
You
just
not
land in the
you
airport.
not only need to know somebody, you need to like go with someone who's been there recently.
Yes.
Yeah, someone like me will not be the best person to go with. I haven't been there in like 14 years.
Yeah.
So you need to go with someone who's been there recently, who knows the lay of the land.
Yeah.
Not just somebody you met on the internet,
No.
social
No.
media.
No.
Yeah. It's beautiful out there right now, though.
Right.
It's like in December, a lot of people go back, and it's a lot of fun. But those people that go, they have family members. They know where they're going. People are, people that are looking for them if they get lost, things like that. So you need to be very careful. Just be safe when you're touring a new place.
So, I mean, we've heard so many stories of people landing at the airport and just being taken by someone who they met on the internet, and before you know it, their family members are looking for them and all that. So it's very important that you talk to somebody in America who's a Nigerian, who's been to Nigeria, who can at least shepherd you. Don't just go blindly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there might be unhealthy outcomes. So we've been talking with Tosin and Segun. We're going to be going into the medical part of their life journey. We can see that they've run through the rigors. They've pursued their dreams in spite of the obstacles. I mean, if you listen to them, you'll think it's been hunky-dory, El Dorado, milk and honey. But the truth of the matter is they've had oppositions, difficulties, and life lessons that changed their perspective and direction. So I believe they have a lesson that we as people here in the ground and on the front lines can learn from them. They've pursued their dreams, and today they're at the cusp of achieving their dreams. Segun is about to walk into an interventional pain practice in Atlanta, and Tosin is about to start her career as a medical student to pursue her dream as a physician. So I believe that these are young people. They're not above 40. I don't want to reveal their ages, but who are still intentional about pursuing their dream. And I hope they can challenge you not to give up on your dream. So we're going to be back here next week. Don't miss the show, talking to Tosin and Segun. And I want you to put on your calendar to join us February 23rd for our February Holy Ghost night in West Monroe. We use the Assembly West Monroe on the last Friday, February 23rd. It's 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. We're going to be praying over you. You know, this year is a leap year, so this year there's an extra day in the calendar in February. We're going to be praying over the people in the city of Monroe, over the people in the city of West Monroe. You don't want to miss it. So come back to the kids section at the Assembly, 11 p.m. to 4 a.m., February 23rd, Friday. Look forward to seeing you. Don't forget, Jesus is Lord. God bless you.